Hello, humans. Welcome to Married at First Fight. Now, I want to point out that this series actually started with me just binge watching the older seasons of Married at First Sight in reverse to go through the misogyny, misogynoir, and all the shenanigans, which actually is a big part of the reason why I stopped watching it for a while. But with a new season on the horizon, I decided to see if I could jump back in and give some commentary in real time. Disclaimer, I personally am a sociologist and an empath. I actually hate to tear people down, so I don't want it to come across as that. But when it comes to dealing with relationships and how people interact and get along and etc., you kind of have to point out those things. And I mean, let's be real, we're here for the mess. I actually am a love lover, and I love when the couples actually stay together. But I mean, in reality, how often does that happen? And we're here for the drama, let's be real. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, especially given that the season is just starting, but I'm still gonna, give my thoughts thus far. First thing I would like to start out with is that I absolutely hate the fact that they got rid of the experts. Where is Pastor Cow? Where is Dr. Pepper? Man, I love Dr. Pepper. She's also a sociologist like me. And I also think that she's an empath. The way she cries when couples choose to break up or stay together is so me. Like, oh my God. It's like, I'm happy that you're happy, and I'm also sad that you're sad, right? I guess I'm going to try to give these new experts a chance, but I was very disappointed to find out that they were no longer a part of the show. All right, so let's get to Felipe. So one of my red flags about Felipe is that he mentioned that he may have had to do some things to himself and his appearance in order to become attractive to the opposite sex. Obviously, there is nothing wrong with that, and I feel like a lot of people go through that, right? But I feel like women kind of go through that in a different way, because we're not just unlike men, women are not just allowed to show up. We kind of have to find the right hairstyle and or makeup and type of clothing, type of shoes, etc., to attract the mate that we want. So I think that when it comes to women, we're much more acclimated to going through that process without having disdain for the opposite sex. I think a lot of times when men go through that, they end up with like hidden animosity towards the opposite sex, because it's like, well, you didn't want me when you thought I was ugly, but now that I've changed my appearance, suddenly I'm great, right? And he kind of hinted towards that a little bit. The fact that he parties constantly is definitely a red flag. He definitely mentions that he dates customers if they approach him first, which kind of speaks to a lack of boundaries, and definitely is a red flag if you're going into a marriage, because if customers are used to approaching you, they're likely not going to stop just because you're married. So it's going to be up to him to maintain that boundary. And the question is whether he's strong enough, because the stakes have been raised by him being on this show, and a lot of women will probably just want to test the waters to see like if he's really committed, right? He did mention that he forgot that he cheated one time, which doesn't really bode well when you're going into a marriage. Like, is he going to forget that he cheated on his wife? He parties all the time, stays out all night. I think he missed some sessions because I was out till 4 a.m. And it's like, you have gone through this process because you want to be married, but you're missing Zoom calls and meetings and coming late to everything because you're still partying. So I am really not quite sure if he's ready for this. I will also add that he has a very close-knit family, and they express concern about whether or not the wife will fit in. So it's possible that they don't really accept people as willingly as it seems as well. For Tori, she opened up by saying, I'm not crazy, which is usually a red flag that they are kind of crazy. She did mention growing up poor and struggling, which I mean, a lot of us can relate to that, right? But sometimes when you don't address the trauma that is caused by being underprivileged, you can carry that financial insecurity into the future. And if I know you guys know that financial issues is one of the top reasons why couples end up getting divorced. So if they're equally yoked on that, great. If not, we're looking at a dumpster fire, right? Then we have Mecca, who says he hasn't truly been loved and is afraid of rejection. He has some trauma from being abandoned by maternal figures in his childhood, which sometimes does play out in our relationships. He's afraid of rejection. So he's well off. He's, pretty good looking, but that may not register because he feels like that women have not loved him in his life thus far. So it's probably going to be pretty hard for Belle to convince him that she loves him, especially given how they're meeting. I see that as being an obstacle. Belle mentioned that she wants to do what she saw couples do in the movies. That's cute and all, but as we all know, that's not reality. Like, those are the moments that we show others, and the stuff behind the scenes is honestly infinitely more traumatic and dramatic than people want to realize. She talked about wearing matching outfits and kind of seems, more like she wants, the look of a marriage more than she actually wants to truly be married. I mean, we don't know. Again, this is preliminary, but I did find that a little odd that she was like, oh, I want to wear my matching outfits. And it's like, you're marrying a stranger. Like, you need to be worried about a lot more than whether or not you guys are going to be able to wear Old Navy pajamas for Christmas. But, as a couple, I feel like Felipe and Tori could work because she wants stability. He brings the excitement, but it could also fail because she actually seems to be a little more home-centered and maybe more of a domestic, possibly trad wife. I don't know. She does seem to be into her career, but some women will give all of that up for a family. So, given that he is still very much partying and doesn't seem like he wants to stop, that could be a major obstacle in their marriage. And if their visions of marriage don't match, I don't think that love will be enough to keep them, especially in this process, because it's really not long enough for them to really develop the long-lasting love usually, which is why a lot of the couples end up divorced. Okay, when it comes to Mecca and Belle, Mecca is definitely looking for emotional security. He seems like he's doing well financially, but that doesn't always mean much, right? And he seems to be, looking for a lot of what he was missing, which Belle may provide, or she may just serve to re-trigger the things that he's already gone through, depending on how she responds to that need, right? So, I feel like it boils down to whether or not he is truly open to being loved and not still triggered and traumatized by the fact that he hasn't been thus far, and whether or not she is actually willing to go for the deeper connection and work through all of the nasty parts to get to the part where you are happily wearing your Old Navy pajamas. Adam and Marissa. Adam is rich, athletic, adventurous. He's a piano player. He's highly sentimental. He has a history of dating party girls, though, and may secretly be harder to please than people think. And the reason I say that is because he seems like one of the most eligible bachelors I've ever seen on this show. He dates all the time. He was literally dating someone as he was going into this process, and even throughout the process, he had to call her and call it off. Right? But still has not found anyone who he thinks is wife material. So it's hopefully they found him a match, but it's also possible that he just picks every woman apart and is not impressed by anyone. He brings a lot to the table, so it might be that he wants someone who is equally yoked, which will be hard to find because he has he's athletic, but he's also artsy, right? So finding a woman who can actually keep up with all of that, could be a lot. He loves animals, which is something that they both share, but Marissa is allergic to cats, which he is more of a cat lover. She did say she would take an allergy pill for the right one, but is he the right one, right? And do the allergy pills also work? Because I am someone who has horrific allergies, and I can tell you that they don't always work. Sometimes you end up having to take a Benadryl because like you can't like breathe and you're sneezing and crying and wheezing and your ears are itching, your nose is itching, your throat is itching. And you know, like I said, is he the right one? Is he the one that's gonna make her maybe go get monthly allergy shots to be able to deal with her cat? Because it seems like being a cat lover is a big deal to him. So if she is not willing to get on board with that, that could be a deal breaker in and of itself. She did say she wants a handsome husband specifically. And when they asked Adam that, he actually said that he wanted someone who was relatively fit, but didn't really specify like she must be drop dead gorgeous or this or that. Now, mind you, that could all be cap, because people say whatever they think people want to hear when they're on TV. And like I said, I do think he's harder to please than he lets on. But I just wanted to note that she definitely was like, oh, he has to be handsome. And he's like, well, I'll work with her as long as she's a good person. So maybe that works, maybe it doesn't, right? She mentioned going to like 6 to 8 weddings in 1 year. And she kind of gives like the always a bridesmaid, never a bride syndrome, which to me is entirely mental, right? Because at the end of the day, and I don't mean like mental like crazy, I mean like it's a mental thing. Because in the end of the day, you know, if you have a circle full of people who are married, you're going to feel like you need to be married. You're going to feel like you're behind, right? And is it that she really genuinely wants a marriage, or does she just want to get married because she's tired of seeing everyone else get married? So, and you know, it could be either, it could be a little bit of both, but I did find that a little bit of a kind of like she may have idealized marriage without really considering the full implications, especially when you're talking about getting married to a stranger. She has a difficult relationship with her father, which, as we know, those father wounds can definitely murk up our relationships. So, you know, if it's something that she's worked through or willing to work through, it could work, or he could just trigger everything that she hasn't gotten from her father, which, you know, obviously is another obstacle. And the fact that they revealed at the end that Adam and Marissa already knew each other, I feel is absolutely nuts. Because is this a woman that he wanted to pursue before and she didn't like him? Is this a woman that he decided wasn't good enough, right? And looked over? We don't really know what their history is. So I can't wait till next week to find out like how and what capacity they know each other. Because I think that is a huge missing piece of this at this point. I was like, why would you, like, I'm so mad that of course they would cut it off there. But listen, I need to know what's going on, because like, again, I said, and I mean that he seems harder to please. So is she someone who's been hanging around trying it? You know what I mean? Has she dated one of his friends? Like, what's the deal here? So, I mean, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm done today. That's all I got, guys. I guess we'll see next week.